I will call the meeting to order, 7:33. I don't see public participation. I noted that Jen is not able to make it and Julie's not able to make it. So, I don't think we can approve the minutes. We don't have Jen. So we'll have to put that off to next meeting or last month's minutes. Take some notes here. Um, So next on the agenda is climate leaders program next steps. I haven't heard from Anne about the decarbonization roadmap, whether we have heard anything from the consultants, if it's finished or not. So I'm assuming it isn't, or she's just been busy with the grant stuff that we've been giving her. Um, so I will follow up with her. And then as far as the zero emission vehicle policy, I did get um, the town's vehicle inventory from the DPW vehicle manager. I don't remember his title, but something along those lines. Um, and let me open it up. This host, I gotta be the host. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the vehicle inventory list. It's in the format of Green Communities reporting. So it does include this 8,500 pounds or not criteria that will be for the zero emission vehicle policy. Basically anything that's below 8,500 pounds will need to abide by the policy if we pass it. I'm not sure what this exempt. I think this is related to the green communities. So it's probably not. The stuff that was exempt for green communities was like larger equipment and also like fire and police. So you'll see there's a lot of like all the police is exempt from green communities, but according to the zero emission vehicle policy, they won't be. So most of the vehicles that, if I just filter for 8,500 pounds, no. it's mostly like administrative vehicles for DPW at least, but like the majority is police cruisers. So this is 47 vehicles. Actually, if I filter out, there was a few electric vehicles that I could make out from this list. That, like for example, the Bolt and the Leaf. There
Mhm.
may be others that in here that aren't obvious, but so if I take those out, and there's only 45. There may be others. There may be like hybrids and other electric vehicles that are not obvious based on the name. But so my thought is talking to the police chief um, and to get his kind of opinion on switching to electric police cars. I know that there's a bunch of other towns and cities that are working on this, so we wouldn't be alone, and we can see like how other towns and cities are doing on this, uh, specifically for police cars. And I don't know if this is like a complete list. There could be others that are not listed on here that this is only the ones that the DPW, I guess, is tracking. I'm not sure. There could be other like town vehicles.
Why would we expect that? I guess, I mean,
I don't know. It's possible.
okay. But I mean, I mean, even 47, you mean remove how many is it if you remove the police cars? Does it drop to like 20 or something?
Only two.
Okay. So I mean, I still think the bank main thing here is not so much that they must buy. I know that's the spirit of the transition, but it's that they have to consider and take quotes, etc., RFPs, and include those in their consideration. And so if they get quotes that are like too expensive, or if they get quotes like they're not required to actually purchase, they have to consider them first prior to purchasing their final decisions, right? My point is it softens the conversation a bit when we go to talk to uh the police chief.
Yeah, I mean, let me just look at um
Now, if there's other towns that have successfully made a switch, then I think that's important. Let's see. MA towns buying EV police cruisers. Acton has an EV cruiser. Is it just one? Acton has one.
yeah, so if it's determined that a zero emission vehicle does not meet operational needs, the purchased or leased vehicle must be most efficient, fuel efficient class, drivetrain model available that will fulfill intended municipal function. Fleet policy is electric first, electric vehicles prioritized, followed by plug-in hybrids, hybrid electric, and then other alternative fuel vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's no like, if you don't buy, EV, like you're violating this.
right.
All vehicles shall be replaced with following the electric first hierarchy as indicated by this policy. Vehicles shall be replaced when they are no longer operable, will not be recycled from one municipal department to another, unless the recycle replacement is more efficient than the vehicle is replacing. When considering vehicle replacement, function of the vehicle will be reviewed for potential replacement with more fuel efficient vehicle, including zero emission non-exempt vehicle.
Cambridge has the Mach-E's or Mach-E. So I mean it seems like a lot of the places that are purchasing them are really tiptoeing in.
Yeah.
Where the
Well, so the thing you're just reading, what is that from? Is that from climate leaders or is that
Yeah.
someone's
Yeah.
fleet
Yeah. It's
policy?
the climate leaders.
yeah.
Sorry, are you not
I'm
I'm
seeing
Google.
the spreadsheet, but not
uh, yeah.
the policy words you were saying.
It's the guidelines, the
Yeah,
guidance.
we reviewed the last session and looked through but specifically there is no exemption for police cars. That's the 8,500 pound limit, and then um, the language is pretty clear about you have to consider these. But what's not clear about is what happens if you don't buy one. For but I think in terms of understanding the dynamic and the having examples of towns that are making the switch, it looks like most towns are tiptoeing um into the EV space with the police at least. So
Hmm. On the I thought Jen said in the last meeting, or maybe followed up about the EV showcase, that one of the F-150s that the gas and light has is the Lightning, the EV F-150. I don't know if that is from my read of this page. I don't think that's listed here because that would
Yeah,
be
that's why I'm saying I don't think all the gas and light vehicles are on this list
that could be, yeah.
for sure. I mean, there's only like 7 vehicles, so I'm sure there's like way more. Like all of their utility vehicles are not on this
Right,
list.
right. Okay.
So that's why I'm saying it's not complete. But like, yeah, I'm assuming the gas and light. I don't know if they would actually be under this policy anyways, because they're a completely different entity from the town.
yeah,
Right. Right. You would think this would be DPW, police, fire.
It would be
There's some
town-owned,
school. Yeah.
completely just town-owned vehicles, not,
Yeah.
I mean, utilities completely separate. So
Right. And the ones that are already is like the parking car.
yeah, there's like at least one Bolt and one Leaf that I found in here. I mean, there's maybe other like hybrids or other ones that are not obvious.
yeah, the drive system doesn't give any indication that any of them are electric.
Mm.
The model years are a little, not all of them, but like for
Does it say,
the gas and light truck, the model year is too old. It's for 2013 for the 150 that's on the list.
Right.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't even say for the Bolt like anything.
Yeah.
Yes. The Leaf is, oh, there's a police Leaf car.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
they're already electric savvy. It's great.
So, I mean, that's good.
I when I emailed Lieutenant Anderson at the police department inviting them to the EV showcase, he said that they have an EV cruiser on order,
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
which is very exciting, but he does not think it will be available. He doesn't think it will be there by the time of the showcase.
I,
So,
what
Okay.
matters more for the purposes of this discussion, though, is the cap plan and for what we're trying to accomplish with the leaders program is climate leaders is that we just want to make sure they were on board.
right,
And
that they're being considered as
they've
a
already made a purchase and we're very they're already good. We're good to go.
Did he say anything about like why they like what's the is no.
No, no, we didn't get into it. It was a brief exchange. But I expressed enthusiasm about the vehicle and how cool it is, and that when it does arrive, we should have a little parade or touch a truck or
What did he say? What was the
some
model?
celebration.
Did he tell you the model by chance?
I'm assuming you were emailing with him.
You're muted right now, Tim.
You'd think I'd have learned by now.
No.
Um, Chevy Blazer. It's a purpose-built electric police vehicle.
What? Oh.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
Well, I think what if I was going to guess, because I'm sure that's what we're here to do is make assumptions about everything, is that I mean, the EVs, the low end power on those things, and even, I mean, a lot of the EV engines are actually significantly faster, easy to get up to speed and then chase than the gas counterparts. So my guess is they're generally are cheaper to charge. So I've got to imagine that if they've had a couple test runs, they're probably performing pretty well. I think in the end, it's the cost that's always been the thing that keeps coming up, which they just tend to cost more for at purchase. So if there's things happening, then this is great news.
I mean, it's absolutely worth a further conversation.
Yeah.
That's the sum of all the information I know, and it was simply from inviting him to the showcase. So definitely worth a conversation about sort of their overall plans. But it's a good indication
Yeah.
that, it's at least,
Can you send me his email?
yeah.
Assuming you were emailing. Um, yeah, that's great that they're just doing that on their own. Um, I think the other piece of this policy, though, is the charging uh, that will need to be installed to accommodate all these, especially one thing that was mentioned when this was being discussed at town council was, I guess, some employees like bring their cars home. Uh, so like how would that work with installing chargers at their house? But I mean, I feel like that could be worked out with the utility. But there will need to be definitely way more charging stations set up. Most hopefully, by town hall, which would be, helpful for residents too, if we could use those.
Right. And certainly for the police vehicles, they're often parked inside the station in that under like the parking garage area. So I don't know if those would be accessible to other folks, but
Well, I mean, if police wants to just make it accessible to them, that's
I think I sent you some info about this, but there's at least one company I'm aware of, and there are probably others that are working on solutions to that problem of municipal fleet vehicles that go home with a
oh yeah,
employee, and
yeah,
so how to like let them charge from home, but bill it to the municipal or the employer. I don't think it was even necessarily just for municipalities, but employee brings fleet vehicle home to charge. They shouldn't be paying for the electricity, the employer should. So there's
we did send that to Steve,
yeah,
and yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
So there are folks working on solving that. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
definitely. So yeah, maybe I I was hoping we could talk to John about this as well. Um, Tiana. So get his take. But yeah, as I said, most of these vehicles would be police focused. I mean, most of the other things are like it looks like very basic. We filter out the police, administrative, like pickups, SUVs. There's one dump truck, but that's gas and light. So if I filter out the gas and light, there's even less. There's 15, which are seem to be pretty basic cars. Like, if we have the F-150, like we could just swap that out for an electric because they have electric version, and then these, you said they were getting a Explorer, or what was the EV?
Chevy Blazer.
These are similar to Explorer. I don't know what the school transport is, but I'm wondering if there's other school vehicles that are not on this list too.
Well, some of Wakefield's school, like the school buses are most of them are through a bus
Yeah,
Yeah, they're rental or
company. Yeah. So those aren't Wakefield owned vehicles.
right.
yeah.
So these are probably mostly what says command car, or is this all school stuff? Sorry.
It's just an SUV.
Oh, just the two at the bottom. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, really, it comes down to a bunch of random 15 and then police cars that would be under this policy. So, yeah, I will email the police chief. 15 vehicles.
And have we spoken with Administrator Mayo at all about the fleet policy?
I mean, it was discussed in town council meetings. Like he's aware of it being part of the climate leaders program.
Right, right, right. Okay. And what's I guess the step now of talking with the police about their interest in it, but what's sort of next steps? Is it a policy that we write up and suggest to folks to adopt,
The
or like how
template.
does it?
So DOER provides a template for the policy. It's very basic.
Okay, so there's not like we don't have creative license to do other stuff with it. It is this is the policy, and it would be a matter of having folks
Well, it's a
in
model
town approve it.
policy that we could utilize the format. We don't have to.
Okay.
It does look like so it needs town council approval, then it does look like it needs school superintendent approval for some reason.
Well, I would imagine for any school
Yeah,
vehicles.
only two, so probably wouldn't be a big deal. But yeah, it's very basic. The other piece of it is the inventory, which we're already doing. So
But I guess my question is maybe do we bring it to town council, or is this something that we bring to Steve Mayo and he brings to town council?
I would think we bring it to town council, but you know, hoping to talk to some others beforehand.
Mhm.
Um, and then we would have to approve it at ESC meeting.
Right. Yeah.
That and then bring it to town council. I can once it's approved by ESC, I can email Steve and ask him like how we should approach it.
Okay. Yeah. I imagine it's something where we'd want to have, answers ready for some of the expected questions about it, which are
Yeah,
probably already in the template from DOER.
yeah.
So
Welcome, Jen.
thank you. Sorry.
Finish your dinner.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So, sorry, what was the end of that, Tiana?
Just that if we can probably anticipate some of the questions that folks will have at town council, so it would be worth
Yeah.
coming with answers prepared for
Right.
the questions that folks are likely to have. And many of those answers might already exist in the DOER information.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I already made a summary of the policy for a discussion with John.
Right.
So get an idea of what kind of questions will come up too as well when we talk to him. So I will email the police chief. So Jen, we just found out that the police is already purchasing an electric vehicle, like an additional one. Um, Chevy Blazer.
So
So they're already like doing this on their own.
yes, which
So,
is the goal.
right. Yeah, I know it's awesome.
Yeah.
So it seems like we had to do less convincing than
Yeah.
so that's a good thing. But I'm still gonna email the police chief to you know, kind of give him what we're planning on doing and his thoughts.
Also, just for clarification, I don't believe that Lieutenant Anderson is the chief.
So
I think someone else is the chief. Lieutenant Anderson just happens to be the person I had already had email contact with from a prior matter and reached out to about the showcase, and is clearly knowledgeable enough to know they have an EV on order. But looking at the police website, it looks like there is a chief and a deputy chief, neither of whom are Lieutenant Anderson. So just for your awareness, looks like Lieutenant Anderson is maybe night shift operations, which I'm not knowledgeable enough about police to know what that means.
all right.
There's a Chief Stephen Scory and a Deputy Chief Craig Calabrese. So
Okay.
you might
Well, I
want to
can,
reach out to them as well.
yeah, I've seen the story before. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're willing to attest to all the reasons why they're making this choice without being required, that would be great,
Yeah.
right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely asking about like the process of procuring the vehicle that they're working on and how long it's taking and
And
like
I do wonder if there are incentives or other, like, are there grants or other things, rebates, whatever sort of incentive available for police departments in the same way that there are for, private citizens. I have no idea,
Yeah.
but I could imagine that there might be.
I would assume so. I mean, they could use the same incentives we use, no? Like any regular person would use.
I do not know the answer to that.
I'm not sure that I would
I
not, I
mean,
would
I
not
think
assume that
so.
that's true.
The incentives that we use are federal tax credits.
Yeah.
So for many, many years, municipal governments, they don't pay federal taxes, so they do not have
Ew.
that. They cannot leverage that.
Ew.
So yeah, you have to be a taxpayer.
Damn towns not paying taxes.
Well, it's just different. It's just different flows of money, So that is a very specific thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So a
Yeah,
lot
that would
of
be good to
those,
find out. Definitely.
yeah, I mean, I think just asking them if they did leverage incentives or if they're aware of incentives they can use is probably a good way to start. I don't know what they are eligible for or might be aware of.
There's a page on the mass.gov called State and Federal Electric Vehicle Funding Programs. This is just from my quick Google search. So there may be, in fact, some grants available for fleets and such things.
Yeah, didn't we already look into that fleet
We
thing?
did we did discuss it at the prior ESC meeting, right?
Yeah.
where we were
Yeah, yeah.
talking about it. But I don't recall that we talked about police fleets in particular. I think we talked about DPW vehicles and we talked about commercial fleets.
Yep.
So that's just one other, yeah, one more fleet that we should inquire about or learn about.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, really, that's the kind of the last piece. Besides the town, the last piece for the climate leaders program, because the decarbonization roadmap will be done soon, if not already. And then if the town adopts the zero emission vehicle policy, the only thing left is the commitment for the town to the climate, basically commitment, climate change commitment. So we will be well on our way if we can get this done.
So
Yeah.
when did we want to target? I mean, if what we need to do, right, is first we want to talk to the lieutenant, then we want to go to, unless we want to talk to an additional person, the chief or whoever before we go to the town council, right? But the real ask here is the town commit to this, right?
Yeah.
And when do we think we'll be repaired? Was it to put that up in front of the town?
Yeah, I was thinking this fall.
Like November? I think that was, when's the next town meeting? Is it has to be town meeting or town
No,
council?
no, town council.
Okay.
So they meet every couple weeks. So.
Every couple weeks.
But
Okay.
we bring it to a full ESC meeting first,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that it would be coming from the full ESC, and the ESC needs to see whatever we're approving, so we need to bring that
Well, I
in
would assume
advance
at
of.
this point, uh, we won't have time for the next ESC out September 12th.
So how do we want to present that to do we want to put together slides for that, or do we just want to, is it, we put together a verbal thing? I just don't know how we want to do
Yeah, I could put some slides together.
it. Okay.
And show and pass around like the model policy.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking if it'll be ready for next ESC meeting. 3 weeks. Could make it available for September 12th.
Well, it would need to be posted with the meeting agenda, so we need it a handful of business days before the 12th meeting so that people can read it. So, I mean, depends on how quickly you think you can have conversations with folks to feel like it's, generally feeling good.
Is there a deadline that we're working toward with this whole effort? Like, or
Well, there is no, it's like a rolling application for the climate leaders.
so there's not a hard and fast deadline.
No, they took out all the deadlines, basically.
So one thing you probably have had this experience too, but it can take months to get on a town council agenda.
That's true.
So what you might want to do is reach out to see when you could get on that agenda and then back
Okay.
into your schedule from there. And maybe they can get you in sooner rather than later, but they might say our earliest slot is January, so you may want to reach out.
Good idea.
Hopefully they have some space this fall. I don't know what there is on their calendar right now.
I also don't want, I mean, we don't want to try end up like, oh, well, the only slots in September, and then we got to race to try to get
Right, right.
the only risk. I
Well,
mean,
and
Or on the other hand, I think it's not a risk. If that is the only slot, then we at least will know and be able to try to make a stab at it.
Do we, if we're also going to be having at some point the decarbonization roadmap, do we have, is it, do we want to try to bring those both to the town council at the same time rather than seeking two
Well, it's
separate?
not really us doing the decarbonization roadmap, it's the town. I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
That's
we're not really involved.
okay.
It's just
Our whole thing was
Anne
getting,
has been managing that whole thing with the consultants. Like I haven't
Got
talked
it.
to.
it was us getting the consultant. After that, it's
It was really just to get that grant we were involved in
yeah.
that.
Then,
from there.
well, I guess then my question is the ESC the one suggesting the fleet policy then, or is actually that also should be the town?
No, it should be us.
Yeah,
Okay.
we already asked for the commitment to the climate leaders program,
In the
and
grant. Yeah.
then but this other part, and because the climate plan is necessary for the climate leaders program, so they've already committed. So this is one of the things they committed that they would have to commit to, and we kind of told them. But then that being said, we want to make sure that it's a slam dunk and not us begging at for them to.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay,
Right.
yeah, I just wasn't sure if there were multiple things that we would be bringing in regards to the climate leaders program. If there are multiple things to bring to town council, would it be better to bring them as a set? But it sounds like those are separate activities.
Yeah, I think it should be separate. I mean, they're fully aware of all the requirements for climate leaders because it was part of the grant and we discussed it at town council. We were gonna, we were getting their approval to apply for the grant. I mean, there was definitely some, uh, they were not fully on board when they heard about the zero emission vehicle policy, but at that point there was not a lot of details. So now that we have way more details, I've looked at the inventory vehicles, like we have a bit more information we can provide, and I think it's great that the police are already moving on this, and that is a great message that we can send them.
Yep.
All right, so I can reach out to the town council president, Mike McLean, now is the president, and see about what kind of slots are available. The agendas is coming up in the fall. All right. So let's go back and approve the July meeting minutes now that Jen is on. Is there a motion to approve July meeting minutes?
Motion to approve July meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Not a lot of people, so
All right. Stefan,
yes.
Jen.
Yes.
All right. Yes, meeting minutes are approved. All right. Next thing on the agenda is to talk about the draft climate plan. So I did create a new working draft of the plan in Google Docs. Based on what Jen had already started and I added to it. So let me share my screen. So I couldn't figure out how to update this cover page, but we can figure that out
I
later.
couldn't either.
Okay.
I tried so hard. So
We
I
can
think
just
we can
delete
figure
it.
that out. We could delete the whole box and recreate a new box. Like it seems to be the box is just not functioning. Yeah. No.
And then we can redo the table of contents.
Yeah.
But so I added some summary progress to date, some of the items that we've already accomplished: green communities, greenhouse gas inventory, specialized energy code, the energy park, WGMGLD programs, and decarbonization roadmap. Did anybody think of anything that I missed that's related to this climate emissions reductions?
Those are the ones I'm aware of.
Okay, so we can go into more detail about all those things, but I just want to list them. And then I added information about the greenhouse gas inventory, and added the graphs from the inventory. And then this is all basically coming from the presentation we gave to town council on the inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Just some bullets about it. Obviously, we can do more. So these are like the main like takeaways from it. So largest single category is on-road vehicles. Yeah, it's basically 43% transportation, 54, 55 stationary energy. And then of the transportation, on-road vehicles is the largest category. Buildings are the second largest category, with residential buildings having the greatest emissions, and then commercial industrial. The biggest categories are transportation, which we are looking at, and buildings, mostly residential.
Does on-road include all sectors, all vehicles?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then as far as building emissions go, this is the breakdown of fuel type. So natural gas and fuel oil are
Melissa, do you think you could zoom in just a touch?
pretty big. I can try.
Thank you.
So there's quite a bit of fuel oil. I mean, this is just based on, Jen, we had talked about how to kind of back into the fuel oil, because we don't really track it at the utility level. It's really just assuming anybody that's not on natural gas or has like purchased heat pumps through through the utility, that it's their fuel oil, right?
Yep.
So residential fuel oil is still a pretty big piece. And that, that is really, we want to get those people to move to heat pumps, because that is, the best transition. You're not gonna like set up, a gas line.
Yeah, I don't think at this point there are many pathways to to convert to gas.
Yeah, so as of right now, my understanding is that's pretty much been pulled off as an option, right? There's no longer that incremental choice, because all new builds are supposed to go to electric. But
Well, this wouldn't be new builds. This would
I
be,
know, so if people are doing retrofits,
yeah.
I mean, in the past you would say, well, a incremental move is better than no move, right? But in natural gas being better than oil. But then I guess the question is, what's our stance is you only should move all the way. Is it even a choice for people to go to natural gas at this point? Like, will the light and gas go and build and dig in a new line for people? Is that a thing that we are still?
No, so you can, I believe in some cases, connect to the existing system if you're within a certain distance of it, but no, they're not extending the
Right.
system beyond the scope of where it is now. Yeah. And
So,
that's, they haven't extended the system in a decade or more. So
but if you're in town like, so for instance, I know that I already have natural gas. If I want to modify my natural gas, that's something that can be done. But if I want to, if a new house is built, probably I would imagine at the end of where I live, they probably can't get it at this point because there's probably not going to be any
Well, the
lines.
specialized code prohibits it anyways.
Prohibit.
well, it doesn't prohibit, it doesn't require you to put on solar and a bunch of other things. Like
Yeah.
you have to actually pay
Yeah,
more.
there is an
Yeah, it's 25% or
fossil
something.
fuel
Right.
pathway.
It doesn't prohibit it outright, but it would be economically,
Infeasible for most
yeah,
people.
yes.
Okay. So reality is that but as a group, our stance is go all the way though. That's kind of my point. It's not like we don't want to even recommend incremental at this point. We wouldn't say go for heat pumps
Yeah,
or and that's really it. So like when we are making recommendations below based on where we're at, anybody that's on oil should be incented to move to directly to some sort of electric based heating.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
And one good reason for that is you already have electricity in your home when you have fuel oil, so you do not need to install any more pipe or dig trenches or anything like that. Like you
Well,
can,
it depends as long as you have the 220 service, assume.
that's true. So
well,
yes, there can be like a panel, certainly there could be a panel issue, but yes.
yeah.
Okay. So we want to also highlight the incentive, the benefit, which is you don't have to dig up your yard. You don't have to and make sure that it doesn't belong in this document. That's not what we're measuring. I'm just trying to make sure when I talk about this with people in general that I can represent it properly.
Yes. I mean, I think that's what we've been discussing at WMGLD is having people go directly to or go to electric instead of through the natural gas route. And a lot of people don't even know about electric heat pumps or they think they're resistance heat. So the biggest problem, actually, the number one biggest problem is everyone thinks it's resistance heat, inefficient and costly. So there's a huge misunderstanding, and the word heat pump just hasn't really helped.
Right.
I
When
mean, we're talking about doing an extension, and this applies to me now because I don't think I want to, I don't think we can actually expand our use of natural gas, even if I wanted to, and I hadn't even thought through this yet. I wanted to do radiant heat flooring, and the question will be whether or not that's feasible. First of all, I don't even know if I can afford it, but but also with an electric heating system. So this directly, has a direct impact on even me at this point. So
Mhm. Yep.
Um, so yeah, energy emissions from all the different sources are nearly evenly split. Residential fuel is the largest contributor. Oil accounts for almost 1/3 of building energy related emissions. So that is the um, main points of the inventory.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think we need to, I can make these into paragraphs, but those are the main points.
I mean, you don't even need to technically, as long as it looks clean.
Yeah.
The goal is to make sure that we convey the information, and people tend to read bullet points better than they do prose. So if you want to maintain readability, I would almost stick with bullet points.
Okay.
Maybe if you want to have a leading paragraph and a closing paragraph, but
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah, yeah.
keep it readable.
I haven't gone through the inventory before yet. Just want to know, do you have information on like number of buildings and number of vehicles from that you assumed in the inventory or anything like that?
Um, it's all based on what's in the Mass Energy Insight and the MAPC like census data.
Yep. Because that could be of interest to people. Well, it could be just good baseline information for people in terms of
Mhm.
just how many vehicles and how many buildings were.
I'm not sure we have that granularity.
Yeah, I didn't know if you did.
Yeah, so that's basically what I added to here. And I changed the name working draft. It's in our shared climate plan folder. Once we get the decarbonization roadmap, we can add that information in here as well for municipal operations. But I mean, most of the stuff that we have in here is addressing the inventory data, basically. So we got clean transportation, clean buildings, which are the biggest emitters. And we got some waste and water management and some resilience. Could probably add some more info from the MVP plan into this resilience. So we could work on that.
What was, can you repeat that last part?
The municipal vulnerability preparedness plan
Okay.
that was done several years ago for the town. It's
Okay.
mostly related to resilience.
Okay.
So can just double check that we're not missing anything from there. And so add it. So,
Okay. How do we want to what is the next steps for the document? Do we need to, do we, do we don't want to do another writing session today? I take it it's already, we're an hour in, but do we need to continue fleshing out the tables?
yeah, I think so. I don't think we need these Wakefield specific examples. We could just make this, I think we talked about changing the tables up a little bit.
Yeah, I had wanted to try to incorporate some of the gimmicky stuff from some of the other plans, but otherwise there's, when we were talking last, I think we kind of brought it all down to like, so the only thing that we would want to do is if in the event, based on the references that I've looked at, if we wanted to say, for instance, include sources of funding for something or recommend a specific program,
Yeah,
that this is where that all goes. So if
yeah.
but I don't know that we're at a place to like say, well, we're definitely going to go after this specific funding. I am a little concerned about the the commuter rail, the commuter um the other thing that's not getting passed. Because if we end up, if for any reason we don't adopt the by right language for multifamily homes, then are we going to lose access to anything funding wise? My understanding is that I don't know what the deadline is for the accepting the state mandated requirements, but you know, I don't want to load this up with a bunch of grants that we don't even have a right to if that doesn't pass.
Well, yeah, I mean, also grants come and go, and
Yeah,
like
right.
there's, I'm not sure we can add specific grants unless they're like this expires in 10 years, like you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Is the intention, you said remove the Wakefield specific, or are you just gonna not have it in sort of a two-column thing? Because that column looks like it has some really good juicy details.
Yeah, no, I think we're just probably just rename this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, because I think that level of detail is
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to make sure that what we were going after is in the column, so like what it's the action and then the yeah.
Examples of the action,
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
what could be done under this action.
right. That makes sense.
So we just change this to
I thought we did talk about adding another column of something, and I
yeah.
don't know
No,
whether it was timing. There was something, and I can't recall stuff, and you
Well,
made
I had talked about the thing from I don't know if it was the Princeton or the other one, but there's like a column of like does it which of the things does it address kind of thing? Does it because some of these are multiple or like anyway metric oriented thing where
right.
you say increase if increase crown cover was a thing we wanted to go after, then we would want to include some kind of measure to say not less than 19 20
Yeah,
or something, but
I
like
think for sure we should add some sort of metrics that will be used to track these things.
Mhm.
yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't do it to the extent that it would prevent us completing the work because a lot of them, they're not that specific. They don't.
Well, we
I
should give examples for ones that we can
yeah,
pinpoint.
right.
Well, I think it will highlight where we might be able to tweak the language to be a little more action oriented. Um, so if there's literally no way to measure it, maybe we might want to actually change it a little bit so we could measure it. So I do think it's a good exercise.
Yeah. So maybe we could all kind of go through on our own time, like so I could add a column for metrics.
Yeah.
And maybe we could break up, like someone could look at transportation, someone could look at buildings, someone could look at the other ones. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yep.
All right, who wants transportation?
I would take transportation.
Okay. Who wants buildings? That sounds like a Jen thing.
I mean, I can do any of it. I'm happy to do any of them. So whatever you guys don't want to take, I can pitch in.
I'm giving you, I'll do the last pieces.
I mean, I'm happy to help on the resilience section, given that it's got a lot of the green stuff that we were talking about, the nature oriented stuff. So,
Okay.
because I think it does, right? Develop tree policy, protect,
Mhm.
yep, parks and open spaces, manage. Yep.
All right, so I will update these tables to add all the metric columns, and then we'll work from now until the next meeting to add the however many metrics we can find on each of these.
Yeah.
And if we can't find a metric, then we can talk about taking that action out, or whether we can figure out a way to keep it in and still track it somehow.
Well,
Mhm.
the other option is you can always, make the item about establishing a metric because
Yeah.
so there's all sorts of just making it measurable is like, oh well, we made a tree policy. Well, that doesn't do much unless you actually have a plan on how much tree
Well,
cover
yeah, I mean, if these are new things that
is it,
obviously, I mean, most of these are new things. So,
but a OKR oriented thing, right? Yes or no is sometimes a sufficient OKR. Like, you did it before, you didn't do it before, now you do. That's enough. We got a
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
right, but we just need to, I guess, be able to understand what kind of emissions impacts
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so if we set a goal for reducing this number, how, what are the metrics we're gonna use to track and meet that goal?
Yeah.
All right, anything else on this?
I'll just take a look at the activities to date and just see if there's anything else to add there. I didn't
Okay.
get a chance to go through it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything else anybody wants to talk about not anticipated? All right. Our next meeting will be when do we want our next meeting? September 16th works the best for me.
Can you say that again?
The week of September 16th works the best for me.
Basically, the first 2 weeks of the month are completely. I'm gonna be on business travel, part of it, and personal travel, the other. So,
Okay.
this is the first week I can meet.
Do we want to do September 18th or 19th?
I'm fine with either.
Yep, as long as it's in this time slot, I can do either.
Okay, let's do the 19th. And
Is
yeah.
it, can I ask one more just
Yep.
logistical question? Is that subject to change for any reason if we are going to be able to be on like a town council agenda in September?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not official until it's posted on the calendar.
Okay. So will you, I guess you'll follow up and let us know. I think it sounds like the only thing that matters is if it's happening like immediately. If the town council can only take us in like September, right?
Well, the full ESC would need to see it
Right.
first. And
Okay.
that meeting's the 12th, so
Okay, I see.
anything prior to that, I mean, and that's assuming that the ESC votes to approve it rather than to send it back for more adjustments that can't happen in the meeting. So it doesn't seem feasible that it would go to town council any before that.
Okay, got it. Thank you. That's helpful.
And do let me know if you want it on the agenda for the 12th.
Yeah. All right. You guys know, Jen, you know where this document is saved on Google Drive, right? Or I can share it with you again.
I don't know that I do, actually. If you don't mind sharing it again, that would be great. Or just pointing me to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Done.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the August 20th meeting.
Second.
Second, sorry. Yeah, I didn't say second.
All right, 7.
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.